Well, we ready? I think everybody's here.
Yeah, it's showtime. Go ahead and get started, Anthony.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our first Health and Human Services meeting of January of 2022. Yeah, 2022. Before we get started, this meeting's being conducted under the extraordinary circumstance of a public health emergency, COVID-19, under Chapter 1 of the laws of 2022, signed by Governor Hochul on January 14th of 2022, without permitting public in-person access to the meeting, authorizing the meeting to be held partially or completely with members appearing by remote conference call or similar service. And the meeting is being live streamed via the web and recorded, including the participation of members appearing by remote link. So we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start out with privilege of the floor. If there's anybody that would like to speak to the board, please give us your name, your address, and keep it under 5 minutes if possible. Is there anybody that would like to speak to the board?
Chairman Doldo, I'd like to speak real quickly if possible.
Okay, yep, just give your name and your location.
Yep, my name is Scott Berto. I'm the mayor of the village of West Carthage. I just wanted to come before you and follow up on an email that I sent it to everybody maybe 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago that I haven't received anything back. The email was ongoing concerns about the situation with DSS and the Pleasant Night Inn. I just wanted to reiterate our concern from our community that there's got to be a better way and a better process, and that there's some suggestions out there that if we could really look into, not only would provide more safety for our residents, but also a better service to the people that are staying at the hotel and the families that are staying at the hotel. The system that we have now isn't working. It isn't providing them the services that they need to get help. Our community doesn't have the services they need, and locating them here is not benefiting them or us. There's opportunities available that they could receive a much better service and get the help that they need to get back on their feet, and we're not taking advantage of that. As of late, we've had a number of issues at our businesses. I've got a couple letters in writing from the businesses where they're concerned about the safety of their employees and their customers. I have one business that has commented that his business is way down because of trouble that they're having there with the residents of the hotel. And now it's becoming a concern with other businesses. I think we went through a 7 to 10 day stretch where the police were at least at one or two businesses every night with issues with employees and the residents there. There's got to be a better way, and there's got to be a better system. And we did meet back in November, and just some of the suggestions that were made from the county, to comment that it's going to be 12 to 18 months. That's just not going to help anybody. It's not going to help the people that need those services now, and it's not going to help us. And some of the suggestions they have, I've spoke to your employees, and they just said they're not going to work. It's a waste of money, and it's a waste of people's time, that they're not looking at the right things and they're not taking the right steps. I don't know the answer. I just know that what we have now is not working. I have suggestions. I have suggestions from other people, other communities that are having the same problems, and some things that they're doing that are working in their communities. The people need a better service and need access to better service to make a difference in their life, and they're not getting it now. And then now it's spilling out into our business community and becoming a safety issue for workers and customers in our community. So I thank you for your time. Appreciate any feedback, or willing to come and meet with any of you and discuss it, and discuss the issues that I put in my letter and suggestions that might make an immediate difference. They're not difficult. They're easy things that we could be doing together now to provide a better service and a safer environment. And I just think more action needs to be done.
Thank you, Mayor Berto.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the board?
Yes, I would like to speak to the board as well.
Yep, just state your name and your address. And
My name is James Eulinger. I am a town champion council rep, and I live at on South Lake Road in the town champion. I would simply like to just reiterate what Mr. Berto has stated. The town of Champion does not currently have the resources available to help the people living at the Pleasant Night Inn. And as Mr. Berto has stated, the safety concern is a real concern now, seeing how the police are being called over there. And it's my understanding that the fire department has been over there several times as well. And with resources being spent that we don't have, and especially in this great time of need, seeing how 2022 is not really shaping up to be a great fiscal year, it's definitely something that needs to get figured out. And it's a concern of more than just the people directly next to the Pleasant Night Inn. I can say firmly that people that shop in those stores right there definitely are concerned. It's definitely a complete town of Champion issue. Working with the Village of West Carthage so we can solve this problem. And any solutions to this problem would very well be appreciated as we continue discussions with the village to figure out what the best solution is for our area.
thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the board?
I would, Mr. Doldo.
Go ahead. Just give us your name and address, please.
Yep, Erica Porter. I live on South Massey Street, Outer South Massey Street, County Route 63. I wanted to speak to you guys tonight regarding an email that I sent you earlier. I think that the committee should really consider temporarily suspending the funding of agencies like CHJC and any of their affiliates. At the very minimum, I think that there needs to be some sort of full-scale investigation into the practices and the programs there. I understand that several programs at CHAC have been created for the benefit of the immediate Watertown area, but I believe that the board should consider the cost, other than financial, of these programs. I think that the county needs to put money into strengthening family units, whereas CHJC, in my experience and many other people's experiences, seems to alarmingly be working to undermine the family unit. Corruption and misconduct run rampant at CHJC and its affiliated programs. It's no secret that caseworkers, administrators, and other people there have unchecked power, and they bully foster parents and the biological parents into submission by threatening the permanency of their children. What should be an agency that makes good on its promises for decent social work and betterment of the entire community, it seems like the reality of many people that CHJC is supposed to be servicing is that it's an agency that's embodying dishonesty, manipulation, and it takes advantage of vulnerable populations. And I don't know if that's for financial gain or otherwise, but it is a problem. To further support the concerns that I bring you, I would like to read you some quotes and some instances of this misconduct. And these are all things that have either happened to me or have been independently verified through emails that people have sent me or audio recordings that I've listened to from caseworkers or other employees at CHJC. For one, in multiple cases, including my own, which a lot of you are very familiar with, CHJC refuses to release records to foster parents and even birth parents. We should be able to have access to any home study, any incident reports regarding our home. Parents aren't even allowed to access any documents, agreements, or safety plans that they have signed. CHJC administrators have cited that such records are property of CHJC, and therefore, because of confidentiality, they can't be released. And it's my opinion that they're hiding under that confidentiality, even in situations where bio parents have consented to release of this information. Even when administrators at CHJC are presented with that, they completely ignore the facts. Here's a good one. A direct quote that was spoken to me. If you do not sign this document, DSS will not give you your children back. This was told to me by a CHJC administrator referencing a corrective action plan that CHJC and DSS wanted my husband and I to sign, which they acknowledged contained untruthful information in order for our foster children to be returned to our home. Another quote, it doesn't matter what we think is in the kids' best interests. We have to do what DSS wants. Another quote, you're not supposed to talk to their caseworker, meaning their caseworker at DSS. Doing that is what stalls your case. In my case and many others from people that I've heard of, foster parents are completely discouraged from having any contact with DSS caseworkers, and they're encouraged to only communicate with the CHJC caseworkers assigned. They are even told that if there is a problem with that specific caseworker, that they should bring it to that caseworker, and that caseworker can decide if it should be brought up the chain to administration. Another quote, I know your child needs more services, but the administrators will not sign off on them, so they won't let me recommend them. When asked if I could send pictures or updates to the biological mother of our foster children who had asked for them, I was told that under no circumstances was I allowed to communicate with the biological parents. The caseworker required me to send screenshots of all messages I had had with the biological mother to her after she found out that we had been communicating. The mother still had court-ordered visitation with her children, was allowed to have supervised contact with them, and to this day still has legal rights of those children. I was told by a supervisor that it was inappropriate for me to keep in touch with the biological family members about their children whose permanency planning goal remains return to parent. This is paraphrasing, but we had a child in our care who was 11, and he was Google searching how to kill people and how to make illegal drugs. And his counselor, employed by CHJC, told me it wasn't concerning behavior because he's just a teenage boy. The same licensed clinical social worker who works for CHJC had 4 appointments with a child and was able to make a recommendation that affected the permanency of that child, such as ending visitation with all of his biological family members. So I've got pages and pages here of direct quotes that I've shared with you via email, but I think that those few just really highlight that there is a big issue with that agency and that there really needs to be a full-scale investigation because something's going on with the employees there and it's not what's best for kids.
Thank you, Mrs. Porter. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the board? Okay, with that said, we'll close the privilege of the floor. Any reading of the last minutes from the last session? Hearing none, we'll move forward with resolutions and motions.
The first resolution this evening is accepting donation on behalf of the Office of Aging and amending the 2022 county budget.
Can I get a motion, please?
I move.
Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next resolution is authorizing agreement with VNA Home Care Options doing business as Vincentia for the provisions of home delivered meals by the Office of Aging.
Motion, please.
Motion by John Peck.
Second.
Al Drake.
Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next is authorizing agreement for provision of services to elderly of Jefferson County.
Can I get a motion, please?
Phil Reed.
Second.
Al Drake.
Any discussion on the resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Reappointing member of the Jefferson County Office for Aging Advisory Council.
Motion, please.
John Peck.
Jeremiah Maxon.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funds for Veterans Peer Support Program.
A motion, please.
Bill Reed.
Second.
Corey Grant.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 county budget in relation to the New York State Public Health Corps Fellowship Program.
Can I get a motion, please?
John Peck.
Second.
Bill Reed.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Next is amending the 2022 county budget in relation to the New York State Department of Health supplemental funding for COVID-19 vaccine response contract.
Motion in a second.
Al Drake, make a motion.
Thank you. Second.
Francie Calarco.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I have some, Al. All right, Anthony.
Yep. Legislator
So
Maxon.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is reimbursing for clinics that we've already operated? Or is this going to be reimbursing salary for clinics that we are yet to operate?
It's going to be both it's going to go back in time as well as go forward. This is just a segment of it, $40,000.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Carried.
Next is accepting funding in connection with the New York State Department of Health Local Health Department Performance Incentive Initiative and amending the 2022 county budget in relation thereto.
Motion?
John Peck.
Second?
Corey Grant.
Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next is reappointing member to the Jefferson County Public Health Service Professional Advisory Committee.
Motion, please.
Jeremiah Maxon.
Second?
Bill Reed.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Reappointing members to the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board.
Motion, please.
Corey Grant.
Second?
Maxon.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Next is accepting donation on behalf of the Department of Social Services and amending the 2022 county budget.
Motion, please.
Bill Reed.
Second?
Maxon.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing 2022 Comprehensive Planning Resource Allocation Agreement with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services and authorizing contractual youth program agreements.
Motion?
John Peck.
Second?
Al Drake.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next is amending the 2022 county budget relative to additional revenue from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services for Safe Harbor, New York funding.
Motion, please.
John Peck.
Maxon.
Thank you. Peck and Maxon. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funding from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services for Family First Transition funding.
Motion, please.
Maxon.
Second.
Corey Grant.
Thank you. Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funding from the Redlick Horwitz Foundation for Family First Readiness.
Motion.
John Peck.
Second.
Phil Reed.
Thank you. Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funding from the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance for Homeless Service Plan.
Motion, please.
Maxon.
Second.
John Peck.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funding from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services for Enhanced Adult Protective Services.
Motion.
John Peck.
Second.
Phil Reed.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2022 county budget relative to supplemental child care disaster relief and recovery fund allocation from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services.
A motion, please.
Maxon.
Second.
Al Drake.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Next is reappointing, members to the Community Action Planning Council.
Motion, please.
Maxon.
Second.
John Peck.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Finally, reappointing member to the Samaritan Senior Village Board of Directors.
Motion, please.
John Peck.
Second.
Maxon.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. There's some monthly departmental reports there. Is there anything else to come in front of the board?
May I have a moment, Mr. Chairman?
I'll give you 5, John.
Oh,
Go ahead.
you're being gracious. So you
I
heard
know.
the testimony. You heard the testimony from both Mayor Berto and Town Councilman Ulinger tonight. So, and certainly this is an issue that was foisted upon the village of West Carthage after, circumstances within the city of Watertown and other placement facilities that we had for homelessness last year. I think it has certainly been a culture shock for the village of West Carthage, which, we've talked about. They've never had to deal with the gravity and the scale of a concentrated amount of DSS clients like this before. It's not that it's anybody's fault or issue or any of the issues with the individuals there. It just is a matter that this business has willfully chosen to contract with us and the county DSS, and we have obligations and needs, and they have satisfied those needs for the programming purposes. So I'm empathetic with the part-time staff that they have for a police force and trying to mitigate the issues. They do have police coverage. Otherwise, if it is not the village that responds, it's certainly our county sheriff's deputies and the state police. The long run is that homelessness is a new issue for us that was brought to the forefront last year with the loss of the facility and on Factory Street and loss of hotels where we used to be able to place peoples. There's certainly chatter that as courts open up more and with the end of the moratorium on evictions, that there could be more homelessness that we'll experience in the coming months. So I think it certainly is incumbent upon all the resources that we have in our agencies to work a little harder and work faster if possible to develop resources and ability to help respond, because this is a situation that's going to be with us some time, and not every community has the resources to be able to respond. So I know that we'd had the meeting last fall with Mayor Berto and appreciate him and his deputy, or another trustee participating in that. So we have a work in progress, but they're not the only community that's affected by homelessness. And I think we just need to continue to work on how we do what is best for the individuals that are dealing with that crisis in their persons and in themselves. And also to make sure that it doesn't become an excessive burden for any community where we're working in. So that's my 2 cents, and I wish to continue pursuing this issue and assist the people that need the help the most. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Thank you. Yeah, John, I get where they're coming from. The city of Watertown's been dealing with this for quite a while. Unfortunately, we've had Place on High and Factory go down at the same time that housed a lot of people. And right now, I think DSS is doing their best to place them where they can so they have some means of stability until, I know it's not convenient for services, but we truly are trying to do the best that we can. Sometimes things just don't work out quick enough for us, but 2 buildings that were condemned here in the city of Watertown really created a havoc, both of them in my district. We do have a lot of homeless people within the city of Watertown over in my neighborhood, and we do the best we can. That's all we can do, and ask for help. But we'll get to the bottom of this. We'll get things figured out, and things will improve. But we have to come up with a plan, which I believe administration's been working on. So I do feel for them. I know they don't experience it every day. It's normal, I guess, for us here in the city because we've had to deal with it, and our law enforcement and the businesses here in the city. But we'll get through this working together. So looking forward to it. Is there anybody else that has any other questions, comments? If not, we'll close the meeting, and thank you everybody for making this seem simple.
Okay, good job.
I'll move to adjourn.
Thanks. Second.
I
I'll
second.
that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Thank you.
Mike, we're not hearing you.
My thing said he left the meeting.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the county's Standing Committee on Finance and Rules for our January 2022 meeting. Good evening, all. I don't see, of the size of the screen I'm looking at, I don't see all the members, so I would just ask that I'm going to call roll, so just please say you're here. Cantwell,
Here.
McBride,
Here.
Ferris,
Here.
Drake,
Here.
Calarco,
Here.
and Gray.
Here.
Thank you very much. Moving on, I'd like to thank IT Director Vincent. He spent better part of an hour with me today getting my Apple products such that I'd be able to participate tonight. I foolishly bought a new iPad and therefore it didn't do anything I needed it to do. So anyway, and John Lutz, a staff person in IT, who's the only person who knows about Apple. They always go to John for Apple. So, okay, moving on to tonight's meeting. There, at the end of the meeting, folks, there'll be a little bit of information from our county attorney. And I think that's, I have to read a preamble.
Yes.
Preamble. The meeting is being conducted under the extraordinary circumstance of a public health emergency under Chapter 1 of the laws of 2022 and signed by Governor Hochul on January 14, 2022. Without permitting public in-person access to the meeting, authorizing the meeting to be held partially or completely with members appearing by remote conference call or similar service. And the meeting is being live streamed via the web and recorded, including participation of members appearing by remote link. With that out of the way, I would ask if anyone is interested in presenting information or bringing themselves before the committee. Hearing no voices, I say we'll move to the minutes of last meeting, which I think was November. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Okay, rocking on. Could we move to finance and rules sponsored commissions, sponsored resolutions?
We sure can. The first one this evening is amending the 2021 county budget and capital plan in relation to buildings.
Have a motion, please.
McBride. Ferris.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, didn't mean to cut people off. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion's carried.
Next is amending the 2021 county budget and capital plan in relation to elections.
I have a motion, please.
Cantwell.
Thank you. A second?
Calarco.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Amending the 2021 county budget for sales tax distribution.
Motion, please.
Ferris.
Thank you.
McBride.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Reappointing member to the Jefferson County Board of Ethics.
Motion, please.
Ferris.
Second?
Cantwell.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Next is amending the 2022 county budget in relation to the Board of Elections Technology Innovation and Election Resource Grant.
Motion, please.
McBride.
Second?
Calarco.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Authorizing renewal of facilities lease agreement with the Watertown Savings Bank for employment and training department, and authorizing sublease with the New York State Department of Labor.
Motion, please.
Drake,
Cantwell.
I'm not used to hearing crickets in the winter, but something about that. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Legislator Gray.
So first, I was intrigued by the fact that this is only a 1-year term on this lease agreement. So, and I hope it's the fact that potentially we're looking to get out of this building or purchase this building. At the cost that we're paying, the $20 a square foot, we can capitalize a building in bond for it for probably a lot less. Well, not probably a lot less, but probably, well, it depends upon how long we bond it out for. But even probably a 20-year bond, it's going to be less in terms of a monthly payment than compared to this lease agreement. We're spending over the process of 10 years with this lease agreement, we'd be investing $1.8 million. That's without an escalator in this. And I certainly think that we can probably bond and either buy this building and fix it up, and whether we bond it for 15, 20 years or whatever, to do it for less than what we're paying on an annual basis for this, or we could potentially look next door to the old historical firehouse that's next door to the historical courthouse, and we could probably renovate that building and purchase and renovate that building and still be in it for less than what our lease payment is under this current arrangement. So my first question is that the intent with just doing a 1-year lease? And if not, why are we not signing a longer lease?
Any input on that, County Administrator?
Sure, a couple things. One, Scott's correct that we need to look at some options, but we've been really doing 1-year leases for a while now. This is not the first time that's happened. But it is with the intent to not make it long-term, to see if there might be an interest from the bank to sell the property. And candidly, I think there is somewhat of an interest. We've not gotten into specific discussions yet, but with the bank expansion on their home base, the thought that they had in terms of utilizing down the road the building we're in pretty much falls to the wayside. So there may be some opportunities this year to indeed look at gaining more control and not leasing for $20 a square foot.
Yeah. So if I may follow up to that, Mr. Chairman.
Would you please?
Yeah, just so being on a bank board, I know that a bank cannot be a landlord. It's prohibited by regulation. So they certainly should be interested in selling this building because by regulations, they can't be landlords. I don't know why it's gone on so long. I do know. They were potentially looking at making this their loan production office, which is what they're building on their main campus now. So my hope is that they have a little bit more incentive to sell this building, which would translate into a little bit more of a leaner cost than they were originally looking for building that building. And also knowing the fact that they can't be landlords would be another factor in their decision to probably offload this building quicker, sooner rather than later. So I would encourage us to engage in those conversations rapidly.
Mr. Chairman, I think I can add that I believe there have been some preliminary discussions between Ms. Mayforth and the bank with regard to negotiating a possible sale. They're preliminary at this stage, but the discussions are moving forward.
Right.
Well, that's good that it's being addressed. Anything further?
I would just
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Legislator Ferris.
Yes, I'm going to be abstaining from this. I have some interest in the properties.
Okay, thank you. County Administrator?
I was simply going to embellish a little bit that now, I'm going to guess about 5 years ago, but it's been a while ago, we got into very detailed conversations about purchasing, went to the extent of getting appraisals. Unfortunately, there was a dramatic difference between our appraisal and the one for the bank, and we could never quite come together, which is we were too far from cutting a deal in the middle somewhere. But there is a different kind of an opportunity today that wasn't there 5 years ago. So I agree with Scott. We may see some opportunities that we didn't have before. And if we can seize the moment, that would make a good deal of sense economically.
For the building on Coffee Street?
Yes, right.
Do I recall that the building, as Legislator Gray referenced, that the historic firehouse, wasn't that the value of that and the appraisal of that radically different also?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess that's probably the biggest issue, is just finding a property at the price we're willing to pay that's the appraised at a fair value. Well, we have a motion.
If I may, all right. Well, I would just say Watertown Savings Bank, Watertown Savings Bank's price on this building heretofore was based on what it cost them to build branches. And historically, it cost them to build their Chemo or their Clayton branch $1.9 million, I believe, in each instance. So that was kind of, in knowing that they were going to present a loan production office, that was the number in the back of their mind. There was no sense selling that building when they could move it to a loan production office and not have to go out and spend 1.9 billion. But their plans have changed considerably, so therefore they should be more enticed to sell this building. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Legislator Ferris.
the appraisal on the building is based upon the amount of rent per square foot that they're receiving at the building on Coffee Street. There was a longer contract back when, and the price was less per square foot, so the price would be less. To ask for an appraisal on that building, it will come back at a higher appraised value than it would have if we had signed a 5-year contract again way back when. I had done some research into this, and at $20 a square foot, that building's still going to book at $2 million or better.
Anything further? Anyone? Then we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstained.
Thank you. Okay, the motion's carried.
Next resolution is authorizing the chief elected official local agreement under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act 2014.
May I have a motion, please?
Ferris.
Thank you. Second?
McBride.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Authorizing State Environmental Quality Review Act determination in relation to the Jefferson Community College turf field.
May I have a motion, please?
Ferris.
Cantwell.
Thank you. Discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried.
Authorizing a joint services agreement with the town of Pamelia for optional county assessment services to the town pursuant to real property tax law.
May I have a motion, please?
Ferris.
McBride.
Thank you. We have Ferris and McBride in that order, I believe. Discussion?
Yep.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Reappointing representative to Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Jefferson County.
Motion, please.
Ferris.
Drake.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I'm sure Legislator Peck will be glad to hear that.
Reappointing member to Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency.
I have a motion, please.
Cantwell.
McBride.
There you go. So that's different person running for this position, I see. Okay, let me get the chairman of the board. That's okay. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Next is reappointing the jury board.
Motion, please.
Drake,
Ferris.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
aye.
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 Motion's carried.
Reappointing members to the Watertown Jefferson County Area Transportation Council.
Motion,
Yeah, well-
please. Thank you. Discussion, or excuse me, second.
Ferris.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Appointing members to the Regional Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
Motion, please.
McBride.
Second.
Ferris.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Reappointing and appointing members to the Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors.
Motion, please.
Ferris.
Thank you. Second.
Drake,
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Approving reappointments to the Sports Fishery Advisory Board.
Motion, please.
Drake,
Cantwell.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Approving reappointments to the Thousand Islands Regional Tourism Development Corporation.
Motion, please.
Ferris.
McBride.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. And then the additional one? Is that County Administrator, the authorizing of employment agreement?
Authorizing employment agreement with the Faculty Association of Jefferson Community College.
Motion, please.
Drake,
Cantwell.
Thank you. Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. The next two groups of resolutions are from the two committees that they're sponsored by, and I'd like to deal with them as a block. And if anybody has a problem, we'll pull it out and vote on it separately. Otherwise, we'll just take one vote on all the motions by each committee, or all the resolutions by each committee. That's acceptable?
It's
Yes.
fine.
Thank you. County Administrator, will you read all those, please?
Do I have to?
You could just say, look at the
I will
paper,
do that.
guys.
Sir. Authorizing agreement with Federal Aviation Administration, New York State Department of Transportation, and McFarland Johnson Incorporation in relation to the Watertown International Airport Land Acquisition Services and State Environmental Quality Review Determination thereto, and amending the 2022 county budget and capital plan. Next is amending the 2022 capital plan, or county budget, excuse me, to reappropriate funding from the New York State Department of Transportation for the New York statewide opportunities for airport revitalization marketing grant. Third resolution is amending the 2022 county budget and capital plan in relation to the Watertown International Airport runway 725 and intersection rehabilitation construction project. Amending the 2022 county budget and capital plan to recognize 2021 revenue from the passenger facilities charges at Watertown International Airport. Reappropriating funds from various unspent grants relative to the Fire and Emergency Management Department and amending the 2022 county budget in relation thereto. Next is authorizing implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible cost of a transportation federal aid project, appropriating funds thereto and amending the 2022 county budget and capital plan. Authorizing agreements in connection with the New York State Snowmobile Trails Grant and Aid Program and amending the 2022 county budget in relation thereto. Authorizing grant agreement, State Environmental Quality Review Act termination, and amending the 2022 county budget in relation to the 2021 Community Development Block Grant Award from the New York State Office of Community Renewal. Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate New York State Septic System Replacement Program funds. And the last resolution is reappropriating funds from the various unspent Homeland Security grants relative to the Sheriff's Department, amending the 2022 county budget in relation thereto.
Thank you very much for that. Could I have a motion to move those?
Motioned, Ferris.
Drake.
Second. Drake, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Would you read be willing to read the 12 Health and Human Services sponsored committee resolution? Thank you.
Accepting donation on behalf of the Office of Aging and amending the 2022 county budget. Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funds for Veterans Peer Support Program. Next is amending the 2022 county budget in relation to the New York State Department of Health Core Fellowship Program. Amending the 2022 county budget in relation to the New York State Department of Health supplemental funding for COVID-19 vaccine response contract. Next is accepting funding in connection with New York State Department of Health Local Department of Performance Incentive Initiative and amending the 2022 county budget in relation thereto. Accepting donation on behalf of the Department of Social Services and amending the 2022 county budget. Amending the 2022 county budget for additional revenue from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services for Safe Harbor New York funding. Amending the 2022 county budget and reappropriate funding from the Redlick Horowitz Foundation for Family First Readiness. Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funding from the New York State Office of the Children and Family Services for Family First Transition funding. Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funding from the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance for Homeless Services Plan. Amending the 2022 county budget to reappropriate funding from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services for Enhanced Adult Protective Services. The last resolution is amending the 2022 county budget relative to supplemental child care disaster relief and recovery fund allocation from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services.
May I have a motion to move that block of resolutions?
Can't move.
Wow, thank you very much. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Well, thank you one and all. There are 2 monthly reports attached. Is there any other business?
Mr. Chairman, we have one item. I'm going to turn it over to David
Oh, yes.
in regards
Thank
to a resolution that we would like to bring forward at the board meeting, which obviously calls for a waiver of the rules. David?
Thank you.
I was surprised by an email late yesterday afternoon from our outside counsel in the opioid litigation, advising me that there's another proposed settlement that we need to consider. This settlement is an outgrowth of a trial that's been going on in, I believe, Nassau County, New York, and reached something of a climax about Christmas time. And after some months of testimony being taken, a settlement was reached with the defendant, which was Allergan Pharmaceuticals. That settlement is essentially adding another $200 million to the pot of money that we discussed and joined in the settlement of regarding McKesson and Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceuticals last October, November. What I understand this settlement will do, and my understanding is still a little weak, I apologize. I've only had today to review it, and it's, again, quite lengthy. But it's essentially going to amend the sharing agreement for New York State that distributes the benefits among all the entities in New York State that sued. And it amends that, and in particular, in our case, we were getting two chunks of money. Each were 5.4% of the settlement proceeds. With the addition of this settlement, that percentage is now going up to 7.98% or 8%. So we're getting two chunks of money, one 8% for unrestricted funds. That will be money we can spend however we choose. And the calculation is that will be about $254,777 for Jefferson County. And I'm not clear whether that is only the new money that's from the $200 million for Allegan, or whether that's inclusive of the other settlement monies from McKesson, Johnson & Johnson. I'll have to clarify that. And we will also get another 8% share in what they call restricted funds, which will be used only for reimbursement of opioid services locally. So the catch here is that apparently the settlement is somewhat time sensitive. We have to give an affirmative response. They wanted it by the end of the month. I told them we couldn't do that in any fashion, but we could do it theoretically at our February 1st board meeting. So with your permission, I will prepare a resolution for waiver of the rules to present to the board on February 1st. And hopefully I'll have a little bit more information to present to you on that.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for the county attorney? Thoughts? Okay.
Chairman Monticello, this is Dan McBride.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Could our county attorney maybe summarize yesterday's legal summary there on the mask ruling that was in Nassau County for us non-legal experts?
Okay, we're changing subjects. I was looking for input on the resolution being prepared for. It's going to require waiver of the rules because we can't go through committee and it's time sensitive. I just want to have a sense of people, how you folks feel about it. The full board will decide what's going to happen, but anybody have a problem with where we're headed? No.
I'm fine, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Legislator Harris. Okay, so Legislator McBride wants to know about the mask mandate and the Nassau County Executive.
Yeah, I can crack at that. This was a case that was heard in state Supreme Court. That's the lowest trial level of the state court system. It's equivalent to our county Supreme Court that Judge McCluskey sits at here. The decision, and I had a chance to read it today, essentially made the point that the mask mandate, as it was reimposed by the state beginning in August, I believe late August of last year, was not done by executive order, as it had been done previously by Governor Cuomo, but it was done rather by an administrative regulation issued by the Commissioner of Health. And the reason for that was that the state legislature essentially revoked authority that it had given to Governor Cuomo just prior to the, just as the pandemic was beginning in February, March of 2020. They gave him authority to make affirmative executive orders to do things, whereas the statute that governed executive orders prior to that time and then after the revocation of that new amendment gives the governor the power to only amend or suspend current laws. And it's a fine distinction, but when you're telling someone to do something specific, you need to have that authority to tell them to do something specific. And that's what was lacking both prior to the amendment to executive law in 2020 and now after the legislature took away that power again following Governor Cuomo's I'm not sure if it was following his exit from office, but sometime in 2021. So Governor Hochul utilized the Department of Health and the authority that the Commissioner of Health allegedly has under public health law to make rules and regulations affecting the public health. And the judge in Nassau County yesterday said, I don't find that there is any authority in public health law for the Commissioner of Health to make a law requiring people to wear masks. Now, the state, of course, disagrees with that, and I won't venture out into whether they're right or not. But that decision has been appealed, as I understand it, as of late today. That appeal will go to the Appellate Division, Second Department. And that court, late today, issued a stay of the decision, meaning that the mask mandate remains in effect. Now, the other interesting question is the mask mandate was scheduled to expire on February 1st by its terms as issued by the Commissioner of Health. Whether the Commissioner of Health will then extend it beyond February 1st, I don't know. But those are the issues as they currently stand. The mask mandate is in effect, continues in effect as of late today.
Thank you. Does that give you the answer you're looking for, legislator?
Yeah, I was just curious as to all that work. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very detailed. It's kind of nice to be at a meeting where the county attorney is, and I get to hear that. Thank you. Is there anything further? Okay, well then I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Ferris?
And- Second?
Drake.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, one and all.
Have a good evening.
So long.